So the first question I have for you is, can you describe what the word play means?
It sort of means like fun. Having fun doing something that you like. Well, the first meaning is like you spend time with your friends and make up new games.
Mm-hmm.
And the second meaning is like you're on stage and you're saying like lines. To me, it means to have fun and to do hands-on things.
It's like being active and like basically like engaging with other people.
Something that's like fun, but not like not like dopamine like scrolling. Just because like just staying in bed on like a Saturday morning just scrolling, it's like dopamine, but that's like a chemical. That's not fun. I'm looking at you people. That's not fun. Get off your phone. But it's just like it's cheap dopamine. It's like whoa, that's cool. But like running outside, like tagging somebody, that's the difference. It's immobile looking at something that like, oh, cool. When your dopamine goes high, then it dips low. Goes high. So you want something that subtly raises it. So like a game like tag, like running or like painting something, that's like, oh, like that's better dopamine like intake than just like, I'm guilty of going like, it's just like,
So to me, at this age, play is anything that I don't have to do that I enjoy.
Independent learning. For me, that's what it was. It was independent, it was learning, it was developing curiosity. Let's try this, you know.
I mean, I think it definitely depends on the person. I think it definitely looks different for different people, but it's something you do that is purely for fun. And I think that's there. I mean, there's not enough of that.
How does play make you feel?
Happy. Makes me feel happy.
Oh, free. Yeah, complete.
So good. I even as an adult who has a better grasp on time management and responsibility, I still never want to stop when I get into that mindset.
The non-stress relief stuff makes me feel accomplished because I'm doing something for myself, for the most part. I mean, like I said, I'm a volunteer at the fort. They'll use my photographs in some of their publications and things like that. But I don't think about that when I'm doing it. I'm thinking about capturing the image. I'm thinking about how to frame what I'm looking at. Same thing when I put the deck together. It's like the entire design of that deck was something I had to come up with. The design of the solar panel array that I created was something I had to come up with. Some of the stuff was off the shelf stuff like the storage units that I've got, but doing all the rest of the stuff with things that I had to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and then I get to see it done.
Why do you think that it's important for kids to play?
I think it's important because, like, especially when you're at school, you need some time to, like, relax and play outside and get vitamin D from the sun. Playing is part of exercise, and exercise is good for you. It, like, helps the brain structure of your brain. It like helps you get faster. Because it helps your imagination grow. When you're like sad, angry, you can imagine something, and I think it's really fun.
I think it probably helps with stress, helps clear your mind. Like if you're stuck on a math problem, then you go play. When you come back, you might you're rejuvenated.
Because it helps build your imagination.
I think it can provide a lot of different things. It could be an escape. It can be a creative outlet. It can be any number of things. No matter what it provides to any given child, I think it is important and should always be encouraged, should never be discouraged. Even when it comes to kinds of play that are like, you know, maybe like if you're considered too old for a certain kind of play or something, I don't think there's any truth or merit to that at all. I think all play should always be encouraged.
If they don't have the chance to like create their own stuff purely, like not even from toys, but just like from what they think and what they believe in and what stuff they think is cool, then they don't get the chance to like create themselves, I think.
While school is good for the point of passing on information, it doesn't pass on creativity, because you're forced into whatever answer the book tells you and not really taking a look at things all the way around. Not that at a very young age you might do that anyway, but when you can just get outside, and I mean outside, no equipment, you don't have anything to prompt you. The only thing you've got is what's around you to deal with. Makes you think things differently, makes you look at things a little differently.
Why do you think it's important for adults to play?
Well, I think they should, because they're always working and being like, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. Now we need, but they don't say that we need some time to relax.
Because they can build their own imagination if they're playing.
Because they probably have much more stressful lives than kids, because they have taxes, they have work, they have etc. etc.
It helps the grown-ups split in two. Usually grown-ups do a lot of computer work, and it's not really fun. And everyone needs the time to have some fun.
Whether or not it's important, they do it. I mean, you know, it's clearly a thing that happens. Like, so many people like will join a D&D game or zone out while they're at work or something like that. Like, you can't stop people from playing. So clearly it must be pretty essential to the human process.
To make the world a better place, we need people to come up with solutions, not to just point out problems. And you can't come up with solutions if you can't think of them.
That's true.
But it never stops them from pointing out that there's a problem. It's like, okay, great, there's a problem. What do you think the solution is? Oh, I don't know. Okay, thank you for telling us there's a problem. Go away now. Let's get some people in the room who can come up with an idea to fix whatever the hell we've done to ourselves next. So I think that play and keeping yourself fresh in that way helps.
Do you ever see adults playing?
No, not really. Not usually.
Rarely?
Sometimes.
How does play come up in your adult life?
Well, I like to write. I think that is the main thing that has inherited my little imagination games. That's something I'll often do, is just like imagine something from, like, I like to write cartoons, from something I'm writing. I'll just like try to imagine, like, what's a funny joke that could occur? How could there be a setup, punchline, payoff sort of thing? I like messing around with characters. I like messing around with words and dialogue. That's the thing I do a lot.
Well, I do still play with stuffed animals, because for a long time, as I was getting older, I tried not to think of it as play, because when you're like 13, 14 and you still play with stuffed animals, you're like, I'm so cringe and embarrassing. But then I tried back then to think of it more of just like, no, this is how I work through stories. This is a fun way of telling stories for me. And that is true. But now as I've gotten even more older, it's like, no, it's play. It's something I do that is fun, and it gives me permission to think of stories in ways that I wouldn't typically think of them. Like if I'm sitting down to write something, you know, there's a certain kind of perfectionism and editor brain there that will always be on. But if I'm just like in my bed telling a story with 2 little plushies. that's between me and those plushies, you know. And I think it's taken a bit for me to become okay with the fact that I have that creative outlet, but I think that having a creative outlet like that, it doesn't have to be as childish per se, but I think a lot of people could probably benefit from having something like that. And also just, I don't know, frolic, you know? Yeah. Run in a field, roll down a hill.
Yeah.
These are things we should be doing.
That's true.
I do photography. I expanded my deck, put a solar panel system up, put a solar battery system inside the house over the summer, and do the volunteer photography up at Fort Ticonderoga. So these are a lot of things that I do that I just is something I want to do. It's not something I'm doing for a paycheck. I work with computers 5 freaking days a week. I work with computers at home, but it's very different because it's not paycheck based. On the other side of that, I don't do any of that stuff as a stress relief because I want to be more in the moment when I do it, and I don't want to be hammering a nail so bad that I break the freaking nail off. So for that, it's online stuff like Baldur's Gate 3, which that immersive environment I'll lose hours just being lost in and disconnected from any of the stress. And Once Human, because I've got a sniper build on there and just having to put everything aside and be patient and not rush things, again, gets me to separate out from having to have that work-a-day attitude. And there's enough stressful things going on in the world right now that it's like, okay, a little break so that I can go worry about that stuff next.
Thank you so much. That was great. The last thing I like to ask all of my participants is if you have any closing thoughts or final words that you'd like to say.
Play is like the opposite of work. It's like the trade-off of becoming an adult, but you have to take the trade-off because you can't just stay a kid forever.
You've heard about the old guy on the porch?
I actually haven't.
So the guy who sits on the porch and just tells the kids to get off his lawn? Yeah. I think that as people get older and they draw inward into a smaller crowd of friends that they have that are their age, they become more isolated from the rest of the world. Their imagination is not challenged anymore, and they may have pulled themselves into a group that just believes the way that they do, which sucks. Yeah. You got to challenge yourself. You've got to find people out there that think differently than you do, and you've got to surround yourself with people of multiple ages if you can. There's the old thing, there's never a bad question or a bad idea. Of course there are. Right. But by learning how somebody got to that point is just as important as the question that they asked. Like, why would you ask something like that? You know, you're thinking to yourself, that was foolish. Well, that's what I think. But why does the person think it's a valid question?
I think whimsy can save the world. I really do.